Good evening and welcome to the October 22nd, 2019 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. And Ms. Nancy Thrower, would you
read the commitment statement?
read the commitment statement?
I'd be glad to. We are the Marion County Leadership Team. If we choose one word to describe us, it would be student-centered, because student success is our mission. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and relevant. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, diverse, and dynamic. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and clarify expectations, and get better. We do not accept excuses. We will not accept mediocrity. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success.
Thank you. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience, please turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Thrower, District 4.
Here.
Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Paul Gibbs, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. Will Miss Amy Mickle and Miss Bethany Crawford and Miss Leslie Knight please come forward to lead us in the inspiration and the pledge?
Good evening. My name is Amy Mickle. I'm a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a fourth grade teacher, and a breast cancer survivor. As I look around the room, and if I were to ask, we would probably find that most of us, if not all of us, would have in some way been touched by cancer. Whether it was a friend, a relative, a child, or even yourself, it seems to be more prevalent than ever before. But in spite of its prevalence and all of the advanced technology and treatments, no one can prepare for such a diagnosis. When they say your life flashes before your eyes, in this moment it truly does. Cancer has always been someone else's story. On March 16, 2018, it became mine. So what do you do with that? You gasp for air, you ugly cry, you wish someone would just shake you and wake you, and from what you feel like is just something that can't possibly be real. But when the daze finally clears, you start to move forward, you face it head on, and you choose to live. A cancer diagnosis is not the end. It can be the beginning of a journey that can make you better. One might ask, while going through multiple surgeries, chemo, and radiation, why me? Instead, I learned to say, what for? My journey had a purpose, for me and for those that loved me. My journey had a purpose. I learned to be positive in the midst of the most difficult time in my life. I learned to be grateful for little things that we often take for granted and overlook. I learned that deliberate compassion of others goes a long way. I learned that I was not alone, even when I physically was. I learned that my strength came from someone far greater than myself. In 2 days, on October 24th, I will celebrate 1 year since my last chemo treatment. On that day, when I rang the bell, there was a poem right above it titled, What Cancer Cannot Do. It says, cancer is so limited. It cannot cripple love. It cannot shatter hope. It cannot corrode faith. It cannot destroy peace. It cannot kill friendship. It cannot suppress memories. It cannot silence courage. And it cannot invade the soul. It cannot steal eternal life. It cannot conquer the spirit. Cancer did not win, and it will not win. I am a survivor.
Good evening to each of you, and I thank you very much for having me here to speak with you tonight. As a woman, I was always very aware of breast cancer. It's something that women often face, But on December 30th, on my 39th birthday, I got the call, and it became my reality. Since then, October's taken on a very different meaning for me. But by the grace of excellent medical care at Moffitt, a supportive family, a husband who took on more, frankly, than anyone should, and my faith, I'm here today to give this inspiration. October is a month we remember, and we remember those who survive, and those who still fight, and those who we've lost all too soon. It's also a month that brings a sense of empowerment for many, and for others, they want the month to go as quickly as possible. No matter a person's stance, I know that I can stand here tonight and speak for all who have fought, who have survived, and who have lost their battles. Because we all will say we appreciate the love and support that we've been given, and this disease has only strengthened our resolve and has given us direction to be the best parents, the best spouses, and the best citizens that we can be. We know that life is precious, and we're grateful for every minute that we've been given. While this journey is deeply personal, I hope that my story can help someone else that's going through this struggle, and that I can be there for them as people were for me on my journey. So I want to thank all of you for your support during October and every day.
My name is Leslie Knight, and I was diagnosed on April 16th this past year with stage 2 triple-negative breast cancer. But I've had fabulous doctors, but I thank God, my Creator, and Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And tomorrow, I will be having surgery at Shands, and I'll be having a double mastectomy and reconstruction and having my lymph nodes biopsied. But I thank you all so much, and thank you for your prayers. And these two are my heroes, so thank you so much. Thank you very much.
You will be on. Okay, so now can we all stand for the pledge? Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies, very much.
Yeah, thank you. Ladies, before you leave, I just want to thank you for sharing your experience and encouraging ladies to go and do that, because it is a lifesaver. And Ms. Knight, you are in our prayers. So,
Yes.
And usually I'm not this emotional, but it kind of brings me back. It wasn't breast cancer, but a year ago, the same night that the ladies gave the presentation was the day I took my mom for her first day for chemo for ovarian cancer. So, you know, it's kind of sometimes related. So, thank you.
And
I didn't have is just how amazing my husband is. I thank him so much for everything that he's done for me.
Yeah.
and
My husband is super so thank you.
all of us know someone or
Yeah.
themselves have been touched by cancer. So we are going to be praying for you this night. We do know that prayer does work and it does change things. So we're praying that everything will go well tomorrow morning. So.
And I will.
Yes, you've had a lot of prayer warriors all along your journey, and not everyone is able to be so public about it the way you have been, and that's truly a testament to your faith and your strength and your courage, and for all of you. It's a great reminder of what's really important in life. Thank you.
And you're right, it is not a sentence, and it does make you, changes you. You'll never be the same. You'll never be the same. But if someone very close to me had bladder cancer 23 years ago, and he's doing fine. So, but he did learn a lesson from it.
Sounds like my dad.
We've already spoken with the ladies, and our thoughts and prayers are with you, Mrs. Knight.
That's right. Thank you. Dr. Mayer?
With the exception of item C 9.1 and resolution 7.1 and resolution, there's applause outside, that's awesome, and resolution 7.2, along with P 25.1, I recommend approval of the agenda for the October 22nd, 2019 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting.
Thank you. May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Cummings, second by Ms. Thrower. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 22nd, 2019 administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thrower,
Second.
second by Ms. McCall. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
There's one correction on section 5. It says Mr. Ellis, Student Services Directors. It should be Mr. Ellers.
Thank you.
Okay, so
We'll make that correction.
okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 27th, 2019 school board meeting?
So move.
Moved by Ms.
Second.
McCall, second by Mr. Cummings. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 5th, 2019 administrative briefing and work session?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Cummings,
Second.
second by Ms. Thrower. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 10th, 2019 school board meeting?
So move.
Moved by Ms. McCall,
Second.
second by Mr. Cummings. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. Mr. John McGowan, Director of School Counseling and Assessment, along with the area directors Melissa Kynard, Ryan Bennett, and Ben Whitehouse, are here to provide a presentation on school data updates.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Gibbs, Mrs. Martinez Lopez. I, along with the area directors, are here to provide our first quarterly update for the 1920 school year. We will be reviewing assessment, attendance, and discipline data, specifically for our L300 or our lowest performing elementary schools. And just to kind of reference that to last year, as you recall, the schools that we reviewed last year was all of our turnaround schools. So that number has obviously decreased. We only have 2 turnaround schools, but we will be reviewing all 11 L300 schools. We will begin with QSMA data. That window just closed about a week or so ago, and we've been reviewing that and analyzing that data, and we will begin with a look at all 11 schools in regards to how they performed. Before we kind of get into the data in this, what's shown here is district data. A couple of things I want to just kind of bring us back as a focal point. There's no significant changes in the QSMAs between last year and this year, and that really speaks to the reliability of the assessment. This is now our 3rd year giving QSMAs. And as you noticed, the numbers are very similar, which speaks to that reliability over time. We are measuring accurately year after year. Also, just to kind of reorient you to what QSMAs measure, and they are a proficiency measure. It is measuring where students should be, not necessarily where they are. And that's what we use iReady for, and we'll get to that next. But this is where they should be in relation to grade level standards. And the numbers you see are the percent correct. So in any particular cell, that is the number, that is the percent correct of the total test that the students answered correctly. Another thing I'd like to point out is that the purpose of QSMAs, specifically at the elementary level, is to improve instruction. And our team, along with area directors and elementary ed, work hard through various different means to make sure that it's not just about giving the test and getting a score and reviewing it, it's what are we doing with that afterwards. That is done through various ways. Data chats, our office has done multiple data chats at schools where we're diving deep into that information with the schools. We do data videos where we analyze specific questions, why students missed it, misconceptions, and all that's being reviewed. So that is the most important part, although I know that for the purpose of tonight, we're just strictly looking at the numbers. And finally, the color coding, I just want to, again, quickly go over that. That is by cohort. I will, at some, stages, refer to across, which is just that grade level, which is more measuring that test. How's that test doing between the two years? But we will really focus on the cohort, which is indicated by the color coding. Obviously, green is an increase and yellow is a decrease. So as we start with district data, you'll see across the board, all but one of the cohorts increased. and that is the 3rd to 4th grade ELA, but all other areas had an increase. Okay, so we'll start with our schools with Area 1. We'll begin with Anthony Elementary School. I'm going to go fairly quickly. I'm going to point out just some highlights, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. One thing with Anthony Elementary School, you can notice all except for that science where it stayed the same, an improvement across the board, some substantial. You notice that 5th grade group went up 10 points in math, and you will see a trend there, especially with that 5th grade group. We're seeing some fairly large increases. Also, I would like to point out for Anthony Elementary School, their 3rd grade cohort that's now coming in, and what I mean by coming in is into those tested grade levels, is extremely high, 67, 55, and 59. And as you compare to the district average, above the district average in all 3 areas. So that'll be a cohort to watch as they go through 4th and 5th grade as well. East Marion Elementary School, again, improvements across the board. Math is probably their most improved area. You see a 10-point gain again, just like with Anthony in that 5th grade group with math. Even the ELA that did drop 2 points, one thing to keep in mind as we look is how close is it to that district average. So again, it's the same group of students, but it's a new year. It's different standards are being assessed on, so you will see fluctuation. But how close are we to that district average? But you'll notice for East Marion, increases pretty much across the board as well. For Evergreen Elementary, you'll see a lot of green. I'm
I
sorry?
must have missed something. You said increases across the board. I was looking at the ELA. What am I looking at wrong?
Yes, just except for that one, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. For Evergreen Elementary, except for the 3rd, 4th math, which stayed the same, you will see increases in most of their cohort areas. That 4th to 5th grade group, you will see substantial increases, 38 to 54, 28 to 47, 39 to 48. The 4th grade math, I will say, and one of the kind of things, again, as we look at this, is a red flag to me is anything in the 30s is still kind of a red flag because that tells us that they're still far from the district average. And so that is indicated there for 4th grade math. But other than that, you will see not only are they having very strong increases across the board, but getting towards that average as well. For Fessenden Elementary, 5 out of the 6 cohort areas showed improvement. The 4th to 5th grade group had, again, gains in all 3 subject areas. Their largest area of improvement as a whole was ELA. Both cohort groups improved, and they are close to the district average in just about every area. Oak Crest Elementary, 4 of the 6 cohorts increased. Math showed the most improvement. However, as I mentioned before, their 4th and 5th grade is still in the 30s. So they're still a ways off from that district average, but showing large improvement. And if you look at the test, just the 4th grade math test, 28 to 37. So is it where we want it to be? No. But this is one of our turnaround schools, right? And so we would expect that. But what we would expect also is improvement, which is what we're seeing for most of the areas.
But Mr. McGowan, that 28, those 4th graders in 18, they scored a 39 in 19, correct?
Correct.
So that's the cohort.
That's
So
right.
they are improving.
That's
right?
correct. And that's exactly right. And that is probably their strongest gain is that 4th to 5th grade math, and that is a substantial gain.
Yeah.
And again, to my point, we wouldn't necessarily expect them to be at the district average at this point. That's proficiency. That's where we're trying to get to. That will take time. But very nice gain so far. And just like I believe it was Anthony that we mentioned, if you look at that 3rd grade cohort, 51, 52, 53, right there at the district average for that group coming in. Reddick Collier Elementary, 4 of the 6 cohorts increased. The 2 that did not, they were pretty high. So even though they declined, and if you look at ELA, they were at 60% last year. They dropped 4 points, but still ahead of the district average this year. So they dropped 3 points in science again, but at this point, with only 1 QSMA kind of under our belt, I think anything plus or minus 5, towards the district average are still right there. And so they are still there with science, even though they had a drop. But again, if you look at math, it is what we've consistently seen. And Reddick Collier for both cohorts, 52 to 67 and 39 to 46. So huge improvement for math for Reddick Collier. Waimea Park, all cohorts, all 6 cohorts improved. Again, this was a school that, although the gains aren't necessarily substantial like we've seen with some of the other schools, they were also kind of starting in a little bit better position, as compared to last year. Again, I look for any potential red flags in the 3rd grade math is in the 30s. But again, I go back to this is one test. We have 2 more QSMAs to add in to average that out to see where they'll be. So we'll definitely, that's something to just keep an eye on for Waimea Park. For Area 2, we have 3 schools. Very impressed with Bellevue Elementary. You will see gains in every area, some substantial. The 4th to 5th grade in both ELA and math was a 12-point gain in both areas, and all close to, if not exceeding, the district average. Emerald Shores, all of their 3rd to 4th grade cohorts did decline, but all their 4th to 5th increased. And again, I would say we've seen it numerous times now that 4th to 5th grade cohort for math had a substantial 18-point increase for math. But the red flag I would say is that 4th grade, they did decline 6 points in math and significantly below the district average there. But otherwise, good improvement. Greenway Elementary, there is a decrease in 3rd to 4th grade ELA and math, but increase in the 4th to 5th grade cohort. And again, like one of the other schools we mentioned, even with the decreases, they are close to the district average. And last year, in terms of school grade, Greenway was, a middle of the road C grade. And so we would expect them to already be right around that district average. And they're maintaining that, if not improving. And for Area 3, there's only 1 school, that is College Park Elementary. 4 of the 6 cohorts increased significantly in ELA, specifically the 4th to 5th grade cohort. And they had very good performance in their 3rd grade math at 52% coming in, which is above the district average. Okay. So that kind of is QSMA data. We'll now switch to AP1. For iReady, again, main difference here, QSMA measures where they should be. It's to grade level standards. iReady is measuring where they're at now. And then as we take AP2, this is really the baseline. And AP2 will tell us, okay, this is where they were, here's where they're at in January, and how much have they grown, how much are they increasing.
Is this still end of year view?
This is end of year view, yes ma'am. So we will always present this to you in end of year view, which is the most stringent view. Easiest way to explain end of year view is if we were standing in the month of May. This is what it would look like, which, to be honest, at this point is a little unfair, but we'd rather do that and then see how it progresses, because we want it to be a realistic view that we're showing you, and we'll be consistent with that view. So again, to reorient ourselves, the green indicates that because we're in end of year view, that is students at the middle point of their current year or late in their current year or above. Yellow indicates they're at the beginning of their current school year or up to 1 year behind, and red is 2 or more years behind. So as we go through AP2 in January, when we come back with that information, obviously the goal is to have more students in green and less in red. We want to have more of those students that are significantly behind getting to where they need to be. As we go through, again, we're not comparing this year's AP1 to last year's AP1. That's really not a comparable data set because it's not measuring the same set of standards. It's an adaptive assessment. So what I'm presenting to you here for each school is just what AP1 looks like. And then when we come back for AP2, like we've done before, we'll show you AP1 and AP2 for each school. Just as a reference point, if you want to keep in mind, we'll just use reading as an example. For the most part, grades 2 through 5, we're looking at about a 12% average in green. So as we go through each school, that can kind of be a reference point as we look at each school individually. So Anthony Elementary, again, if we just look at the reading, Fourth grade is right there with the district average, and a couple of these, you will really see how it mirrors the QSMA data as well. But for the most part, Anthony is right there within that range of the district. East Marion is as well. They've got 11%, 10%, 10%. Evergreen is a little bit lower, and especially in grades 3 through 5, but again, one of our turnaround schools, we wouldn't expect them to be starting out the year in August when this assessment was taken at the district average. Another point that I should really mention here is that this assessment was given in the first month of school. Potentially when it was up to the school when they gave it to the students, but it could have been the first or second week. So we're talking about right after summer, students coming back to get this baseline data. Does it in elementary? Oakcrest. Reddick Collier. And Wymena Park for Area 1. For Area 2, Bellevue Elementary. Again, this is a good example of how this kind of mirrors the QSMA performance. We saw very significant increases with Bellevue Elementary across the board on QSMA. This mirrors it. They are right there at the district average, if not ahead in certain grade levels for already AP1 as well. Emerald Shores and Greenway. And finally, College Park for Area 3. So again, I know that we went through that very quickly. Again, this is just baseline. What will be important is when we come back with AP2, we'll be able to see those comparisons. Okay, finally, we will review attendance and discipline data for quarter 1, and we will compare it to quarter 1 of last school year. So we'll begin with Anthony Elementary. Attendance went down approximately 1 percentage point in the first quarter. Discipline, and this is by number of referrals, went up 9 referrals in the first quarter. The one thing I do want to mention in regards to attendance, and I don't know exactly the numbers of how much this had an effect, but the 2 days after we were out of school for hurricane, that Thursday and Friday, our district attendance was 87% and 89 on those 2 days, when our day-to-day attendance average is around 93. So could that account for the decrease? Because we will see a decrease in attendance on most of the schools. It could be. This is hard to gauge exactly how much. East Marion Elementary, again, a slight decrease in attendance. Discipline referrals, 105 to 143. Evergreen, attendance dropped about a percentage point, but discipline did as well, from 176 to 134. Pheasant attendance actually increased about a percentage point, and discipline referrals went down from 101 to 40. Oakcrest attendance stayed almost exactly the same, and a huge decrease in referrals from 229 to 51. Reddick Collier, about 0.3 of a point reduction in attendance, and discipline went from 70 to 115. Wymena Park, attendance virtually stayed the same, and except for a handful of referrals, discipline remained the same as well. For Area 2 at Bellevue, attendance went up, and discipline went from 128 to 74 referrals.
When you say that, though, we don't know what the, I'm not real, that never impresses me, because we don't know what
The circumstances.
the line is. Like, are the teachers just told not to make the referral, or, you know, you might talk to us sometime about
Yes, ma'am.
what they're doing different,
Yeah, I'm not
or
sure.
what the teachers have to do different.
Yeah, I'm not sure of details of that. I know for the purpose of the data, it was just pulled the number of instances, which is just the number of referrals.
Right, he's just presenting the
But
data.
what I'm saying is, well, I mean, it sometimes looks good for people on television. They need to know that, we need to know whether teachers, whether this is really a much better disciplined school, or are the teachers just not allowed to make the referrals?
Right.
I do know at Oakcrest, they've been working extremely hard on building relationships, not just with the kids, but with the families. And they're calling home every single day on students that are absent and reaching out and saying, how can we help you? Not, your kid wasn't here. And so I am completely in huge thrill and belief that the numbers for Oakcrest anyway are legit. It's a nice feeling on that campus right now.
You mean attendance or discipline?
Discipline, I'm sorry.
I'm
Both, really. Yeah, their attendance is holding steady, and yet their discipline referrals have decreased. So,
Right. I wonder if that has to do something, I know this is another discussion, but it's my understanding, like, when students do misbehave, that they're not taken from the classroom anymore, that they stay in there. So that's for another discussion.
That was
but
why I brought it
that-
up, to lead to,
Right,
y'all need to talk to us about this.
okay. Right, we'll do that in another. Okay, and maybe we could talk about that later, but right now, this is just data, and that's just all
Just
Mr.
putting a
McGowan
bug
is,
in
he
your
has
ear. Just
no,
putting the bug in your ear about it.
okay.
I don't know, too. If you combine the improvement in Bellevue's academics, Dr. Reese has it going on there, something's happening right. So maybe the kids are actually coming to school and they're engaged. Yeah,
Very positive.
yeah.
Very positive.
She's got it going on, yeah.
It's different than last year. It's very positive.
Right.
Yep.
Emerald Shores, again, a small reduction in attendance percentage and discipline from 265 to 124. Greenway, although a reduction in attendance, when we just looked at all the other schools, theirs is definitely still high at almost 95%. And discipline from 83 referrals to 69. And finally, for Area 3, College Park, about a half percentage point reduction in attendance, and referrals did increase from 89 to 1/3. So that's just a brief update on our L300 schools. I will be emailing you all the full data set for all schools, not just L300. That will include elementary and secondary. And then I believe we're scheduled to come back in January to give you another update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
you very
McGowan.
much.
Very, very good. Thank you so much. Do we have any speakers? We don't, okay. We're gonna move forward then. May I have a motion to approve the 5-year district facilities work program for fiscal years 2019 through 2020 through 2023 through 2024?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, second by Ms. Thrower.
The board is required by statute to issue and approve an annually updated 5-year district facilities work program of all projected school system capital outlay constructions project and major maintenance projects for submittal to and approval by the Department of Education.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the 5-year district facilities construction project program? Seeing none. Board, do you have any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda item C9.1-C21.1 with the exception of item C9.1, P25.1, and resolution 7.2 that has been removed to discussion along with the resolution 7.1, which has been withdrawn completely from the board packet.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, second by Mr. Cummings. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve change order 01 amendment work authorization number 53, deductive change order to construct a security fencing system at Denellen High School as part of the district-wide security fencing project number 18-106 in the amount of minus $1,821.47.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cummings, second by Ms. McCall. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, and the motion passed unanimously. Okay, here you go, Vice Chair.
May I have a motion to discuss outside counsel agreement with Henry G. Farrow of Farrow and Gorley, PA?
So moved.
Second.
Let's just discuss. Ms. King, I understand you pulled procedural item P 25.1, outside counsel agreement with Farrell and Gore, PA.
I did. I'm trying to pull it up with the outside agreement. That was, for some reason I can't pull it up. 3. 1 second. Okay, so for this one, it was the retainer fee, correct? All right, hold on. Sorry. We have, there seems to be some misunderstanding or a couple things going on. We have a retainer fee of $2,500. We have another one for $25,000 what we're paying, and I've also have some information showing that we have 2 different accounts that I will pass to you guys where we are paying Mr. Farrow, that same attorney law firm, but they're different accounts numbers that are going in there. So I pulled this for discussion. I don't know if you guys have anything that you would like to discuss about this, but I will be voting no to this tonight. In Marion County Public Schools, it is unprecedented that we've ever paid $25,000 to an attorney for services. Usually, with our attorneys, we pay them as their fee as their services are used. If we were to pay every attorney $25,000, I mean, we're looking at like close to probably $315,000 just in retainer fees for each attorney. So I will be voting no on that this evening. I don't.
Well, and
know where you
besides that,
guys
Ms.
stand.
King, I believe in the state statute, it's not even legal for entities, it's in their state statute, but I would assume that it would probably fall back on us too, that we have to have things very clarified and everything before we go into it to know what the money's going to cover type thing, to go into any type thing like that. So according to, and I could give you the state statute number and I'll pull it up in a minute, but it's not even a legal thing in the state of Florida to just give a contract with a retainer without much clarification and as to what you're paying for before you ever get the retainer. Am I correct, Mr. Gibbs?
I'd have to review the statute you're referring to.
I'll give you the statute number. So,
No, we're not allowed to pay salary in advance under the statute.
no, we can't, even on legal. So I'll have to give you
This
that.
item is not for voting. This was a procedural item.
Well, it's a procedure. Okay. So anyways, I am bringing to your attention that we are paying 2 vendors. It's the same attorney, but it is a vendor. It is procedural.
One's to trust account, which is all attorneys that take money in trust have to have a trust account separately. So that is, the trust account part would be normal.
Okay.
And
So
the other is the business account.
if it's procedural though, and we've never done this, I mean, we would be setting precedents to be doing this with every attorney though.
Your attorneys could ask for retainers, and no one, right now, no one that I contract with requires an attorney. It requires a retainer, yeah, retainer.
So are we saying that we're paying $25,000 as a retainer? For,
They have, the billing is, the way it looks like to me when they submitted their bill is you're paying 25 and then the bills come in after. You're front paying instead of back paying. Normally, when we get attorneys' bills, the billing comes in, we verify the work, and then we approve it for payment, and then the check goes out.
after the work has been done?
Yep.
Why would it be necessary to do it any differently in this case?
I don't know that it would be. I can't speak to why it's set up that way. But that's the way we pay. Everyone else we have under contract gets paid after the services are rendered.
State statute 287.056 says, in the contract, there is supposed to be quantified measurable unit of delivery that can be verified before paying. So, that's,
Have it.
But I think that
Statute.
might,
So we would be breaking statute if we,
I think there's a If you look at the earlier one, I have to pull it up and read it, but I'm gonna get it.
But the bill was paid before we really even had a
That's,
breakdown.
that statute is for purchases from purchasing agreements and state term contracts where we would, it's more like a piggyback provision, where if you're piggybacking a state contract, there has to be those measures in there. So it wouldn't necessarily be for one that we're directly contracting with. That's why I wanted to see the statute.
Okay.
But there, you do have to have verifiable, and if we do get audited, everything we pay has to be covered. So we can't just give somebody $25,000 and then there not be backup to support that.
So the backup should have come before the check was cut.
That's how we operate with everybody else. In this case, it looks like we were paying before services were rendered.
Okay, well,
This one was just procedural and doesn't require a
So
vote.
there's no action to be
Not
taken
not
on
on this one,
There's-
not on this one.
okay. That I had,
So wasn't the
Confused.
initial one, though, that was also procedural?
Right,
Yeah, and so that was read and
right.
approved,
And it came to the board and it went through. Yeah.
and then the itemized statement
The bill.
from my attorney was submitted.
That-
Timely.
That does not come to the board, but yeah, it
Correct.
came after the 25 was approved.
Right, okay, but that was submitted and provided, and I
Okay,
think we
but-
mentioned that,
but
okay.
the 25,000 was paid and then it was,
Break prior to
Afterwards.
services.
it was,
25, the way it looks is the 25 went out, and then the services were rendered, and the billing came in covering the $25,000, so.
Okay, but there are some other contract flaws because I've looked at Ms. Pelsman's contract, I've looked at Mr. Levitt's contract, and they start with an outside counsel agreement that's pretty much our template and the way it's supposed to be done. What concerns me about Mr. Farrer's contract is it came through almost like in lawsuit fashion. Heidi Mayer, plaintiff versus the Marion County School Board. Never seen a heading quite like that with a legal tone of suit, which is quite concerning to me as a school board member, that would be coming before us in such a way, because the school board attorney, the reason the state statute says we provide the superintendent with an attorney, it's more or less for third-party suits, parents, different, maybe even teachers or different ones, third party, but not to one another. And so I've never really heard of anyone paying their opposing counsel's attorney bill. If a parent had turned in something that said basically the parent, the plaintiff against the school board, I do believe that Dr. Mayer would instruct her staff, because I've had this happen before, to no longer discuss things with that parent because there is a tone of a lawsuit. And that all contact with the person would stop and all dialogue would go straight to Mr. Gibbs. Has that happened before, Mr. Gibbs? Where dialogue stops. And so, based upon the tone of this, it concerns me that we have not even been advised, maybe we shouldn't really be having dialogue in this situation. And that's the way it would be if a parent came before us and wanted to talk, we would be told that there is, we can sit and listen, but we shouldn't have any conversation, especially if they're looking for a cause to sue. Another requirement that I think that our resolution will take care of tonight is that all contracts have to come forward with a SunBiz account attached to it.
Well, that's already in policy.
It's
Your board policy already requires everybody to be.
Everybody has that. And this contract did not have that attached. I did pull the previous contracts, Ms. Pelsman, and,
Jump in here. The next item, I believe, is the actual contract for approval. If you want to put that,
We can talk
you
about
might want
that
to
then.
put that in that one because you actually have to vote on that.
oh, okay, all right, so, okay, we'll do that.
I think,
I got a question. I'm looking at this, I'm looking at these items. Is this, are we paying the superintendent's attorney to investigate staff? Is that what I'm saying? Or to do research on complaints? What are we paying the attorney for?
I don't supervise Mr. Farrow, so I can't say what he's doing. It would not be unusual at all for research to be done for preparing a complaint. Mr. Levitt, before Mr. Farrow, prepared all the administrative complaints against employees for disciplinary action, so any research that would have needed to be done for that would have been done by Mr. Levitt.
But what about the actual?
Even to the point of preparing emails and memos for the superintendent?
Perhaps, I'm not
Understand?
involved in what Mr. Levitt's done because those matters come before the board, so I did not supervise those. But it would not, in normal practice, be unusual for things to be drafted for a disciplinary action.
Okay, that was pretty.
Well, this is kind of the first time I'm really looking at this, so.
So we're setting the precedent. We've set the precedent of paying the attorney before any action is taking place.
Yes.
That's what I'm reading.
Yes.
And my question remains, why?
Why?
Because we didn't have it in place that we review contracts before they go out. Because this would not have happened. Had the resolution that I hope that we passed tonight been in place, none of this would have happened. And, we wouldn't have had a contract that didn't have a SunBiz account attached to it, and we wouldn't have had these things happen, had that been in place. So.
We have a contract, it's an agreement. Contract comes.
Right. And his agreement is suggestive, but when it comes, and I believe Mr. Gibbs would have caught this, I'm not really sure. I did pull up the SunBiz and shared it with Terry, spoke with Terry about it, that the SunBiz account is inactive since 2003. So we would have caught this, and a contract would have never been granted without an active corporation filed with the state of Florida.
Right,
That has been, according to this, copied off the website, has been inactive since 2003.
As part of our review, we do check those, so it would have at least got a not approved if they did not have an active SunBiz.
So is it still not active?
No.
To my knowledge, based on that paper, yeah.
And it's not.
Any further discussion on this one? No. Ms. King, I understand you pulled procedural item P25.1, outside counsel agreement with Farrow and Gorley.
That's the one you
That's the
already
same
Now
one?
we move on to
Oh, we're
the
down
next
to this one, okay.
Yeah, I had mine reversed earlier, but that was.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve outside counsel agreement with Farrow and Gorley, PA?
So moved.
It's moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCall. Any discussion?
Yeah,
This is the contract agreement.
this is
Yep,
the
this is the
contract,
contract that you're asked to vote on.
right.
Yeah, I cannot vote for $425 an hour, period.
No. This board in the past, for even 260, we had said no, and the board did agree for the next year while Dr. Mara was in office, that we agreed for the 250 with her previous attorney. So again, I agree with Ms. McCall. I will not be voting yes for a $425 per hour leave fee. And also, their paralegals, oh, it is 75 now. I thought it was higher than that earlier. I was thinking of something else, but
But the associate's 350.
the associate's 350, that's still higher than what we had agreed before.
Ms. Stacy, Mr. Orr, any comments?
I guess I'm ready for call the question.
All ready for vote? All in favor for approving this agreement, signify by aye. All opposed by nay?
Nay.
Nay. It's unanimous, nay. approval has been disapproved. Resolution item 7.2, may I have a motion to adopt resolution number 19-11, establishing superintendent's expenditure threshold and requiring school board's chair or vice chair's approval on all expenditures as stated in the resolution. It's moved by Ms. Throer, seconded by Ms. Stacy. Any discussion? All in favor, signify.
Wait, I have discussion for that. I did pull that for discussion because there was some confusion among the staff and stuff, and they're confused if it's like just every payment or if it's contracts, payments and contracts. The concern is if it's every single payment, we're gonna put our,
Tie our hands up.
it will tie their hands up. So I was under the assumption that it was the contracts, but then when you look at the resolution, it says payments and contracts. So I was gonna suggest, Ms. Stacy, I was wondering if, and if you would agree too, if we could table this till the next work session and we can invite finance and procurement to come, and that way we can hear all sides and know what's gonna work with them too before we do this, and then they can't move forward, or we can at
Okay.
least amend it.
But we do need to do something tonight to go ahead and get this resolution in place, or this remains in place. Where, we can amend it right now.
Can we amend it where it just says contract and not payment and contract?
We'll take out.
Can
Now,
we-
here's the issue with the contracts, because the payments. I spoke to the legal office today, and we do have some crazy stuff going on here. We did approve a vendor through an RFP. Apparently, it went to the school board. We had a vendor, and it was approved. But then when the stuff was ordered, that vendor was not used. And it seems like what's happening with staff is they're using this people they know, their friends, whoever's that they happen to know in the community, and we're getting a lot of people being used that are, when we have vendor lists that are established, and we don't know, like the one where the board approved this vendor, and then it was purchased from someone else. I don't even know if we got the same price. I don't know if the price was more or less or anything. So people are kind of buying, staff's kind of buying from vendors that they're not really looking at the approved vendor list. So I will say this about the contracts for right now, and we probably do need to go back and talk about the vendor list and that sort of thing. So we will take out payments. I will amend it to read, help me, Ms. King, where's that at?
Pull it up. Hold on, give me one second.
I've got
I
it right here.
exited out, and then now I need to, should be
What
there.
number was it?
I think it's section 1. Well, it's in several, actually. I see it in section 2 as well, where it says all purchases of commodities and contractual services.
I must not be holding the
And
right
then
thing.
it's also in section 2, that same language.
Okay,
I mean, you can just amend to take out all purchases of commodities to amend it to all contractual services.
okay, that's fine. We can do that, and then we will discuss that vendor list stuff, because we do seem to have a little problem with
Yeah, and
that.
that way we can all
Go ahead and
have some good discussion.
amend this and
Okay.
remove that.
Motion.
So can I make a motion that we amend the contract, the resolution to read as Mr. Gibbs suggested? And he can give, would you like to say it out loud so we have it on the record?
Change the language from all purchases of commodities and contractual services to simply read all contractual services.
Okay,
So you're making a motion to amend.
amend. I'm making a motion to amend. So what do we need to do from, I need a second? Don't I? Okay, and so now we're going to amend. We've already made that.
Made your motion, you need a second.
I need a second, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Stacy, seconded by Ms. King of an amended motion to remove the language that was given by Attorney Gibbs.
Now, do we vote on that?
All in favor? Signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have a unanimous.
So the resolution's amended. Okay, that's
Okay, so the resolution has been amended.
okay.
It's back to you, Ms. King.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $75,074.29? $2,500 to Bellevue Elementary School from their business partner, Bellevue United Methodist Church, Inc., via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,500 to Bellevue High School from their business partner, Love, Inc., from the Heart of Florida, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $1,000 to Denellen Middle School from Altrusa International. $1,000 to Denellen Middle School from Altrusa International. $2,500 to 8th Street Elementary School from their business partner Glover Law Firm LLC via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $1,380.37 to 8th Street Elementary School from the Public Education Foundation of Marion County grants for great ideas. $1,000 to Fezenden Elementary School from the Public Education Foundation of Marion County grants for great ideas. $1,700 to Fezenden Elementary School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County grants for great ideas. $2,500 to Fort King Middle School from their business partner, Pediatric Associates of Ocala, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,550.25 to Hillcrest Public School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County grants for great ideas. $2,103 to Hillcrest Public Schools or School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County grants for great ideas. $2,500 to Howard Middle School from their business partner Cox Communication via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $4,983.21 to Howard Middle School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $1,000 to Lake Weir High School from Sandy Kramer. $2,500 to Lake Weir Middle School from their business partner, Ocala Fiber Network, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,500 to Lake Weir Middle School from their business partner, Love, Inc., of the Heart of Florida, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,500 to Marion Oaks Elementary School from their business partner, Ocala Fiber Network, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. 1996 Ford Ranger valued at $1,000 to Marion Technical Institute from Josephine Avesila. $1,285.10 to Marion Technical Institute from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $5,000 to Marion Technical Institute from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,500 to North Marion Middle School from their business partner, Ocala Fiber Network, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,500 to Oakcrest Elementary School from their business partner, Cox Communications, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $3,500 to Osceola Middle School from Closet Maid. $2,500 to Osceola Middle School from their business partner, Reed Orthodontics, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $1,000 to Osceola Middle School from Senes Davari Nazar. $1,149 to Osceola Middle School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,785.94 to Osceola Middle School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $4,483.71 to Osceola School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $1,000 to Osceola Middle School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,500 to Vanguard High from their business partner, SIVA MDPA, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,458.91 to Ward Highlands Elementary School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County grants for great ideas. $1,801.80 to Westport High School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,893 to Westport High from Public Education Foundation of Marion County grants for great ideas. Moved by Mr. Cummings. Second by Ms. Thrower. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. That was awesome. Ms. Stacy, would you like to thank you?
That was quite a list.
It was.
And I'm hoping that our robust economy, it will continue like this. Keep the economy rolling and keep the charity and the people who love to give what they have is their extra to our students and to our school system, because our students are extra special, and so are our contributors. They are also extra special. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, November 7th, 2019 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss additional review of district-wide attendance zones, medical marijuana policy, national board certification update, and emergency management update. The organizational meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 17th, 2019 at 11 a.m. The purpose of the meeting is to elect a new chair and vice chair for Marion County School Board. Due to the fast approaching holidays, these are the current dates for the upcoming board meetings and work sessions for the remainder of the 2019 year. November 17th, 2019 work session, December 3rd, 2019 work session, November 12th, 2019 board meeting, December 10th, 2019 board meeting. Okay, and now we will begin with our committee reports and concerns. And Dr. Mayer, we will begin with you this evening.
Thanks. Officer Barry, thanks for being here tonight. It's been a while since you've been here, but when we were chatting before the meeting, you said that you will be with us Thursday evening. Okay, so Thursday evening is our third annual Safe Halloween Scene, and you and 5 of your colleagues will be with us having fun that night, so thanks for coming out for that as well. So yes, this Thursday, the 3rd annual Safe Halloween, and that will be at our MTI campus. And oh my gosh, this year we have even more folks who wanted to come out and join us. There's over 100 different opportunities for families. There are themed rooms. I know we have that Harry Potter room again, and Chris Lyon, who took the lead on organizing this, didn't want to tell me too much because she wanted me to be surprised with everybody else, but there are lots of different themed rooms. There's opportunities for families to do crafts, the traditional trick-or-treating with the sweets, but also lots of literacy activities. It's going to be a great night, and that's at our MTI campus, our district office campus, and this year families and everybody participating will be entering the east entrance. We'll have student workers out there, student volunteers pointing the way, but that way all the families can come in one entrance and have lots of opportunities to just take over the whole campus. We'll be all over the place. So that again is this Thursday from 5 to 7. We're so excited to see everybody. And then this Sunday is Elena's birthday. So happy birthday, Elena. I ate your cupcake, but it was really good, so thanks. Yes, but happy birthday to you. I'll get you another cupcake before. Okay, all right. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Miss Elena, do you have anything?
Good, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Mr. Gibbs? Okay. Ms. Thor, we're going to begin with you tonight.
Okay. At the last work session, I just wanted to revisit, did we reach consensus about stopping the current practice of attritioning out our kindergarten paras?
It was said it was going to be taken care of, that would stop, from my understanding.
There seemed to be
I
some
thought there was
confusion.
a request for more information, and they
Yeah.
were bringing you more data. That's what I thought.
Well,
What do you remember? What
I
do you
think they were
remember?
going to look at the numbers and see what was going on. They was going to do some,
requested more data to come back at a work session before.
but we need some real quick information. And
It's 11 staff, according to the phone call I received from Dr. Grantham, who was the one that asked me for clarification.
It was what, 11?
11 right
That
now.
have been attritioned out.
Yes. So, of course, my response was to share that with the chair.
especially if the board already voted on the staffing plan that included them.
Correct.
And so I don't really know why they attritioned out when we had a vote, and nothing was brought back to us that the staffing plan was being amended. And so, in light of the fact that the staffing plan still remains as we voted for it, yes, those positions should be filled until someone brings us an amended staffing plan to say that they're not going to be there.
I remember making it very clear that I felt like it was not a good idea to reduce our paras, especially looking at the data that we saw tonight, and the number that are in caution and not proficient, that maintaining that one kindergarten para for each kindergarten teacher is very important. But again, you know, I think that clear direction is needed so that we are not, there's no more confusion about what we want as a board. So I was asked for clarification, so that's what I'm asking.
I can say, I don't believe it's within staff's wheelhouse to amend our staffing plan that this board voted and approved and voted on. So if there are people not in positions that the staffing plan says should be there, I think they need to get in place quickly. How does everyone else feel?
Well,
We can go back and forth in committees until the cows come home. We can always talk ourselves out of
I
something.
understand that, but I don't like making decisions just
I know you don't.
off the cuff, and I want to know what the financial impact is. Do we have the referendum dollars there? I don't like jumping to those decisions. I want to know, you know, what was the reasoning? We heard from Ms. Boston-Ellis, the referendum dollars don't begin to come in until the end of November. So, no, I'm not comfortable just jumping right into it.
We do have reserves, though, that can take care of the funds that don't come in. I don't really care what their reason was, if they did not come back to the board and discuss it with us. If there was this type of situation where financially we couldn't afford and we're going to just attrition these people out, I don't like the board finding out by the teachers calling us that our staffing plan has not been followed, that we voted on as policy, and it is the superintendent's responsibility to carry out policy. I don't know why those positions were not filled.
We told you last time at the work session, and I gave you the handout, so.
But
we began the school year
Right.
with the understanding that these positions would be filled in these kindergarten classes. And just reading from Nancy Thrower, Miss Stacy, with me, there is a consensus. There's three. Mr. Cummings, what are your thoughts?
Same.
You're the same. So this board, we approved a budget and a staffing plan that included paraprofessionals for these kindergarten teachers, and I would expect that would be followed, and from what I'm hearing. So there is a consensus on this board to make sure that we are following through with what we did. And if you want to bring it up, you know, at the next staffing plan and have more discussion, then that's fine, but it's kind of like bait and switch us a little bit, and I don't like that.
And there was a lot of discussion that when Ms. McCall, I know you don't like to, you like to analyze everything, and that's good. That's good. But we analyzed it to death when we voted on it. It took us months to get all the staffing plan put together, and they came to us, they gave it to us. We spent a lot of time at workshops, and I'm not real sure why we spent all this time talking at workshops about the staffing plan if it was not indeed kept in place.
Yeah. Or did I miss something? Was I the only one under the impression that we were going to continue with having one kindergarten para for every kindergarten teacher?
That's where
I got the
that's
feeling.
where I was
Okay.
at.
Okay.
At the-
Consensus.
at that
All right.
point, Yes.
Then I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. All right, and three things were actually on my mind. I know that makes four, but we'll go with the three. Mammograms, school calendar, and cell phones. It was so poignant to hear from Mrs. Knight, and that was Bethany Crawford, wasn't it? Yes, and then the fourth grade teacher whose name is escaping me right now, and Amy Mickle, yes, all coming up and really bearing their souls to us, and it was definitely emotional, and it leads me to something very uplifting. We had our first Beat Breast Cancer event a couple of Saturdays ago in partnership with Florida Blue, Radiology Associates Women's Imaging, and Marion Technical College, and it was a great success. This would not have happened without the hard work of so many. And just because I don't say your name doesn't mean I'm not praising you, including but not limited to our own Marion County School Board Health Insurance Committee with Ms. McCall as our representative, Thomas Buss and team at Barrett Liner and Buss, and really the whole rest of this school board who are always thinking outside the breast, so to speak, to come up with ways to keep our employees healthy and our health insurance affordable. You really stood strong, Ms. King, about the fact that, HMO was not the way to go and that we were going to stand firm and just come up with other options, and we sure did. So I'd like to give a special thank yous to Amanda Smith and her team at Radiology Associates, Yolanda Brown Washington, who is our wonderful cosmetology, and I'm going to pronounce this correctly if you're watching, Miss Washington, esthetician instructor, along with her students from MTC. They were fabulous. They pampered our employees with free manicures, makeup sessions, and facial consultations during this event, and there sure were lots of hugs and beautiful smiles all around. I stopped by, and it was partnership at its finest. And also thanks to Laurel Lingle and again Amanda Smith, they provided me with some outcome data. They knew I would be requesting, but I didn't give them much time to gather, which I really appreciate that they came through and got this to me tonight, and it almost seemed predestined with the presentation we had this evening. So these are some results. There were a total of 32 3D mammograms performed on that Saturday, first Saturday ever for an event like this. A total of 4 follow-up ultrasounds were performed that same day, which meant that something was amiss on the mammograms. And there were 5 employees, actually, only that had been seen within the last 12 months. And what that proves to us is that there is a need for the Saturday screening, because with only 5 out of 32 being in their compliance zone, there was 1 that hadn't had a mammogram since 2010. There were 2 that had not had it since 2013, 1 since 2014, 2 since 2015, 1 since 2016, and 7 since 2017. And you can get a mammogram tomorrow, and then disease process can begin the next day. So the fact that these women were availing of themselves of this opportunity made it work out exactly the way that we intended it to. And hopefully we're going to be saving lives and really making sure that we are taking the best possible care of all of our employees. So that was really uplifting. And then moving on to the school calendar for next year, probably like all the rest of you, I received lots of input and feedback due to the changes that had to be made with this year's calendar because of Hurricane Dorian. Some people were okay, some people were not. There was definitely consensus from the calls that I got that tacking on days at the end doesn't seem to make much sense. We're losing testing days or days that could be dedicated to preparing kids to do well on the test. The end of the school year, everyone is tired. A lot of people seem to think that a lot of quality instruction may not happen, when you're just doing it way at the end of the year. Most people, including me, are not fans of early release days, commonly known as half days. I understand we need to get the instructional calendar approved in January so we can move forward with everything the calendar impacts, which appears to be everything. And since the calendar does drive everything, I know we've done this in the past, and I'd like to think about considering forming a calendar committee comprised of a parent from lower elementary, because those are our young kids that need supervision at home, upper elementary, perhaps 2 from middle and 2 from high. And again, I'm just throwing out ideas here based on the feedback that I've received. A school board member, along with the typically involved district staff. I feel like we really need more input from folks that the calendar directly impacts, which is so many of us. So I'm just putting that out there for us to think about and digest. We can talk about it at our next work session. But hopefully that'll be something that we can seriously consider and come up with an instructional calendar that meets as many needs as possible and then go forward from there. And then finally, cell phones. And again, this is to begin the conversation. We all know that the problems that cell phones create, there are over 21 apps that are very risky to children. 21. The average child is a member of up to 8 different social media sites. And most of them are backdoors to information that you probably couldn't even come up to have a nightmare about. It's pervasive, and it's a huge issue. And again, this is to begin the conversation. Kids never get a break, from that input. And this is a family concern, it's a school concern, it's a community concern. And it's going to take all of us working together to deal effectively with the huge problems misused technology creates. And I was at a restaurant, and this little baby couldn't have been 2 years old and had a tantrum when mom tried to take the phone away. So phone came back. Trying to get the child to leave the restaurant, mom walked out of the child's view. The child did not care because what did child have? The cell phone.
It's babysitter.
It's beyond. It is beyond. And I think that we are seeing with the discipline referrals that we get, with the alternative placement recommendations that we get, it almost always circles back around to something having to do with a cell phone. And when you look at our own Code of Student Conduct, it's a little bit contradictory because at first it says cell phones and wireless devices can be in possession of students on campus but cannot be visible or activated during regular school hours. And what that says to me, they shouldn't be using it in class when teachers are trying to teach and being distracted with it. And then also, too, that a use of a cell phone wireless communication a student can be subject to criminal penalties if it's used in a criminal act, and also this unauthorized recording and photographing of fights and employees and all of these kinds of things, but yet then cell phones can be confiscated and the information and the videos can be used to figure out what happened in a fight. So there's kind of a conflict there, which you have spoken to before, and that refusing to allow search is considered gross insubordination, serious misconduct, can result in suspension and alternative placement. All these things that can really put kids on a track to have very, very significant difficulty graduating on time and really becoming the types of citizens that we are trying to get them to be. And I keep thinking about leadership. And leading to me means leading by example, and that starts at the top. And like you said, Ms. Stacy, we need to be good, not look good. And I would hope, again, opening the conversation, that we can start as the leaders of this district by being very cognizant of how we're using our cell phones, even during meetings. Mine's off and it's here, so it's visible, which I guess might be a violation of the Code of Student Conduct. But I put it there for a reason, so that everyone knows that there's no one more important than everyone that's sitting right here and everyone that's watching during this time together. And I'm not looking to create a policy right away. I'm looking to start the conversation, and that has to include everyone, all of our employees, our families, and our other community leaders, because implementation is where great ideas go to die, and we don't want this to be one more mandate on teachers not to do something, things like that. There's going to be parents I know that are going to be very concerned about having instant access to their child, which can create its own dangers, especially in, God forbid, a very potentially tragic situation. It can give away your child's position at a time that it's most critical for someone not to know where they are. So there's a lot to it. But I think if we all pause and think about the impact that cell phones have on our district and weigh the pros and cons, that I hope that can generate conversation and that we can begin to work together to minimize the negative impact and make sure that our kids are able to focus on what they're supposed to be in school for and feel safe and protected and shielded from all of these things that they are just incessantly exposed to 24/7, 365. So with that being said, I know those were two relatively large things and one really great shout out, but those were the major things that were on my mind tonight.
Okay. And I would like to say I have a very long memory. I can go back 65 years when I was 2. I remember very well who was spearheading the mammograms. And thank you, Ms. Thrower. You did a great job. I remember when it all came up, and I remember you brought it up, and you gave a lot of people credit. But had it not been for you starting the ball rolling, it wouldn't have happened. So thank you. Because in time, it may save our employees' lives that they go and they get that mammogram when they should have, instead of postponing it. Now, regarding the cell phone issue, there are districts that actually do not allow cell phones. And probably that would be something good for us to research as far as whoever's got contact in with I don't know what person in the staff, or if it would be, I guess I can call, but it's always hard to know the right person to talk to in the districts and everything. But I would like to know, is there some way we can find out from districts, maybe from their board
PIOs.
policies or something?
PIOs, I don't know.
Yeah.
Their public information officer.
Okay.
Would be one.
All right, that's a good place. So I'll make some calls around and see what some of the counties are doing about this cell phone issue, because it is a problem. It is a problem for the teachers. And some districts I know are scrambling the signal for a certain amount of space from the school so that nobody can get on the cell phone that's not in that doesn't have a certain code or something to get in, but that the signal is scrambled and kids can't use the cell phone. So it is basically useless because they can't get on it. And, but to disrupt an entire school system because mama didn't give Junior correct information before he left home, and he's just going to call her during the day to find out. That's really not our teacher's problem, that the mom didn't get her story all organized before the student went to school, like we used to do it with my kids. So I agree, and thank you, Ms. Thrower. We need to demonstrate leadership, and we need to get moving with that idea. And I will make some calls to the public information officer. Thank you, Ms. McCall. That's a good place to start. At least he can tell me where to go if he can't answer the question. So, so I attended.
To jump in on that real quick,
Yeah.
there is a statute that says we cannot prohibit students from bringing cell phones. I don't know if they're doing something like they have to store it somewhere. That may be.
That's what I'm-
Lockers, they have them and they're not expensive.
Yeah.
Because I can see how if they need them with them, to get home on the bus or make sure they're picked up at the bus stop, to call mom and remind her to get to the bus stop or whatever. But there's just not a reason for them to be talking during the day, or we wouldn't have it in our school board policy that they can't turn them on. So I'm sure that.
Start off with Hillsborough. I think they have something that they
Okay.
do and can use. Just make that phone
Okay,
call.
I'll start off with that one. Now, I've been attending the K-2 Student Retention Committee meetings with the teachers and Ms. Beck, and they're going along great, and it's really interesting. We go every week to that committee meeting. We have another one tomorrow afternoon. So is this Tuesday? Yes, tomorrow afternoon, and so I'm looking forward to that. I attended the Unity breakfast this morning, and it was nice. It was just a nice way to start the day, especially recognizing Mary Sue. And I get a little thinking about Mary Sue. She wasn't there today. So they announced that she really wasn't feeling great this morning, so she didn't attend. But Mary Sue Rich and I go back so many years. We began our activist life together somewhat. And so we go back so many years. And some of the things we did together in our more youthful times, we really had a lot of fun. And it was such a pleasure to be at something where she was recognized. And I'm going to cry. Thank you.
Ms. McCall?
Yes, I want to thank the Public Education Foundation for all the gifts that they granted, and many of them were through our Grants for Great Ideas program. And if you ever want a really great opportunity, it's to be on one of the grant reading committees to pick those grants, because There's some great ideas that come out of those. I also want to thank everybody that helped with Red Ribbon from the school system. The kickoff was last night. We had over 800 people at the Red Ribbon kickoff. I believe that's more than we've had in a long time, sending a positive message of prevention to our kids. And I will remind the board, not that I don't want paras in every kindergarten classroom, and we keep adding things back in. Part of our responsibility, we have a fiscal responsibility, and we need to really be looking at everything that we add back in and the strain that it puts on our budget. And it's not that I don't want all those things either, but we have to have a balanced budget, and we need to be fiscally responsible and really take a look when we're doing things on what effect does that have on the budget.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
And to me, being fiscally responsible is providing the classrooms first, what they need. And my question becomes, if we're having to attrition out kindergarten pairs, and if we're reducing first grade to one para per grade level rather than one paraprofessional for every 2 first grade classrooms, my question then becomes, well, what are we doing with our money? What could be more important than making sure
Then-
that pre-K through 2
Mrs.
is
Strower,
supported?
I do not disagree with that. I am
I know.
saying that we must be fiscally responsible.
Of course.
And if we need to look at cuts somewhere else to do that, we can't continue to put back in and not take something out.
Okay.
So and those are my comments. You've had yours,
No.
and so those are my
Well,
comments on
no,
the
This is
subject.
discussion also, because we aren't putting anything back in. It was taken out, but we had a balanced budget with it in there. And they took it out. So
Ms.
we're not
Stacy?
asking them to put anything back in because it was balanced when it was in there to start with.
Right. Okay, let's move forward. We're going to move forward.
I'm through.
Okay. Mr. Cummings?
Good evening, everybody. Very spirited discussions tonight. We got a lot of work to do. We just have a lot of work to do. Some things I believe in we being fiscally responsible in all matters. And sometimes I just look at these things that come across our desk. I look at some of the things that are going on. I see a lot of us catching it. Well, we shouldn't have to catch certain things. We need to just be, whatever we say that's what it's going to be, do it, keep it moving, because we have to be fiscally responsible. Ultimately, the public holds us accountable for their dollars that they're giving to the school system. So I don't like huge contracts that seem to be utilized in the wrong way. I'm about spending money where it needs to go for the right things and for the right purposes. With that being said, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm grateful for the past few weeks. I've been on the road doing a lot of traveling with educational things, and last Monday, Dr. Mayor, myself, and some others from the district were up in Alachua County. We were there to witness Alachua in the implementation of their exemplary school district. Very good night, very good program. They've challenged us to follow suit and hopefully get our exemplary status coming. Talked to Dr. Coggins, Dr. Mayor, and I think we're moving in that right direction. And then later that week, we had a great breakfast. All of us were there for the Early Learning Coalition, a Marion County breakfast.
We're going to a lot of breakfasts.
A lot of bacon. And it was really, and that was right before our work session on Thursday morning. It was truly, Senator Baxley left something out there for us to think about, that we have to seriously consider all kids in what we do. Very inspiring, motivating message. And then on Friday, I had the pleasure of going to Brewster Hall for the Florida Retired Educators Association. They had their district meeting here. And just because you retire from education does not mean that education is out your blood. And there are a lot of retired educators that are still working faithfully and diligently for the students of our state. They presented a check that showed where they have given over 33,000 hours of their time and money and energy to students, which equates to $882,973.06. So I was honored to be there with them. Alonzo Braden, who was a music teacher at Vanguard High School, he's the president of the local chapter, and they do some great work. So it was good to be there. And then on yesterday, kudos to Dr. Grantham and to the area coordinators, area directors. They have started an inspiring administrators cadre, and this is to help us make sure that we have qualified people going into our administrative pool, and that we got people that are ready to go, and then we got some that's on the bench that we're getting prepared to go. And it's something new that Dr. Grantham has implemented, and Kim McAteer and others, and I'm grateful for that, because it's going to make sure that we're moving people, giving them a pathway for success, because there's some people that want to move from the classroom through the ranks, and that was really a good thing. This morning as well, we were at the Unity Breakfast. Too much bacon, and sausage. It's always inspiring and moving to me when people put down their differences and they come together in unity. And the key word for this year's Unity Breakfast was respect. Respect. And I'm going to leave that right there, respect. I left there, rushed back to Dunedin High School. They actually had a ribbon cutting ceremony today for their pole. They have electric power poles and a mini pole yard there. And Mark Villanello, the CEP, Ms. Velvia Brown, Dean Blinkhorn, Kevin Shuley, you guys have did it again. Another great thing for our kids in Marion County. These kids are able to go through the certification process. They're able to graduate from high school and possibly get a job. It was this project shows great collaboration with the school district, with the CEP, and with Clay Electric, Duke Electric, Ocala Electric, and Sumter Electric. So that is truly an awesome thing when you have working relationships like that with these outside entities, and it gives our kids another pathway to success. As Principal Martin said, our goal is for enrollment, employment, or enlistment. Those are the three goals or paths for our kids. So with this one, they definitely have a pathway for employment. So with that being said, we have Halloween rapidly approaching. I want to encourage parents, please be safe with these kids. Everybody out there isn't right, and we just need to make sure that we're take them to safe events. The superintendent's going to have her Halloween this weekend. Take them to something I'm sorry.
5 to 7.
Thursday, 5 to 7 at MTI. Take them to MTI. Take them to MTI. But let's keep the kids safe. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings, you said a lot of good things tonight, and the CEP, our partnership with the education and the business community is just awesome. And if you want to find a shining beacon, that's it, on partnership and collaboration, and we're just very grateful for them. And you also spoke of education, and you said it's in your blood, and you're absolutely correct. Education is a calling. It is a calling, and it is a passion for people, and they are there because they want to be. And if you need any more evidence than that, look at the times. Look how hard teaching is now. I mean, they're underpaid, they're overworked, they don't have paras that they should have, they don't have the curriculum and the materials, and the list goes on. But these dedicated individuals stick with it because that is their calling and it is for children. And so when you said that, you were right on and spot on. And I don't think we necessarily tell our teachers, and not just our teachers, but all our employees, thank you for all that they do, because they are wonderful assets, and I think many times they're just overlooked from all the politics and things that are happening. But I know as a board, we are very grateful for each and every one of them. Also, last week, we had our first ICROC committee with our referendum, and they had their organizational meeting. And I just want to thank all of those volunteers that dedicate their time to look over, $20 million, close to that, a year, to make sure that we're spending our money wisely. And I would also like to thank Dr. Gonzalez for taking on to be chair, Jane Morley for vice chair, and Mr. McDonald for secretary. I mean, this is their time. And I'm also very appreciative and grateful for that. And that's what I have for this evening. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge the board members have received the alternative placement list for the students through October 2nd, 2019. Ms. Martina Lopez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter? Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 20-013, JD 20-020, JD 20-021, JD 20-022, JD 20-023, JD 20-024, JD 20-025, and JD 20-026 with educational services through the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cummings, second by Ms. McCall. Do we have any discussion?
Not really, other than the fact that it looks like that this was another group fight, and those appear to be happening on a fairly regular basis. I have a concern about that, and hopefully we can begin to rein those in a little bit, but that's what this looks like.
It was.
It's a big group fight.
Yeah.
And a lot of coverage on social media.
Yeah, and I have that's a concern.
In the past, it's really helped. I don't remember what the situation was. I think it was at prom, the children drinking at prom or something at Wisconsin. For the principal to every once in a while put just a by the way over the speaker. You need to understand, you need to think before you swing, because it's a way for you to lose a lot of your life in school. And just remember, kids, go for an adult. Just a short little reminder that the high school and middle school principals could just once in a while put over the speaker to remind them. It might click in someone's head that's thinking about jumping in, about not jumping in, because we do that at prom time, reminding them to not, right.
So you're saying like a public service announcement to the
Over the speaker into the high school.
I agree.
Just a little, the things that's causing,
Yeah, they got a TV
the things that's causing so many kids to get expelled, let's just put a little buzz in their ear about, think about this before you do it, and just kind of help them, because they are kids, and maybe they'll hear that little voice when they start to jump in, when they heard the principal say, don't jump in, so.
And the negative influences are many and unrelenting.
And the kids need reminders.
Well,
do.
What can happen.
I'm like Miss McCall. It seems to be an influx of it, and for me coming from a law enforcement field background, it's different because I looked at the gender. And the last few that we've had have been the same gender. Yeah. And that's telling me something. Is this mean girl club or something that's happening? Because
I know, but you're exactly right.
It
I
takes
pay
he
attention
said,
to
he
it.
said, she said to a whole nother level too, when you can keep it going.
Exactly.
Whether you're at school or not.
Exactly.
It just comes to a head at school.
I just wanted to point
That was
that
it. Okay, thank you. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 20-019 with online educational services through the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall,
Second.
second by Mr. Cummings. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 20-027, JD 20-028, and JD 20-029 with educational services through the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year and the first semester of the 2020-2021 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cummings. Second by Ms. Thrower. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed unanimously. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thrower, second by Ms. McCall. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, and the motion passed unanimously, and our meeting is adjourned.